What do I have planned today? Minions? Any ideas?
Perhaps we can talk about Final Fantasy.
Oh no, that's too basic. I need something special for our special occasion.
Oh, I know. We can do a power scaling video of JoJo characters.
Somehow that's even worse.
Perhaps we can do a video about Mario Kart.
Ah, I see. Quite the brilliant idea. Then people wonder why I only pay you. Mario Kart 8, a game that's been around for so long that if you were to be born in the year that it released, you'd be 9 years old right now. Oh god, the very thought of it. I played this game when it used to be on the Wii U, so meaning I played this for a very long while. However, it wasn't until recently that Nintendo decided to unveil Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which basically is just a Wii U version, but with everything unlocked for free. And what other thing that Mario Kart is known for other than their courses? And funny enough, that is what we are going to talk about today. We are going to sit here and rank all of the courses. Psych, we're going to be ranking the cups instead. But let there be one ground rule first. We will not be talking about the booster course pass. Why? Because that has yet to finish, and frankly, I don't want to talk about something that isn't finished. So, for now, we will be ignoring it and only focus on the main game and its DLC. Now, you must be wondering how I'll be ranking each of these cups. Well, in order to do that, I need to rank the courses first. But what do I mean by that? Well, let me give you a small example. Let's say I'm going to be reviewing the Mushroom Cup, and I give each course a 5 out of 5. That means the total would be 20, and that means it'd be first place. The cup that gets the most amount of stars, basically, is the best one. And there's a lot of cups in this game, so we don't have much time to get through, unless you people want this to be a frickin' hour long. So, let's get started. Oh, but before I do, I'd like to thank everyone for allowing me to achieve the milestone of getting 100 subscribers. If it were not for you and your dedication to watching my content, I wouldn't be here making this video for you right now. Once again, thank you all for staying. But now let's get to the cup rankings, shall we? Let me ask you this. Are you all fans of Yoshi? Good, cause I'm not. The Egg Cup. To me, the worst frickin' cup in this entire frickin' game. First, let's talk about the courses, because that's mainly why this cup is the worst. First, we have GCN Yoshi Circuit. I never liked this track. The only reason why I find it quite adorable is because it's in the shape of a Yoshi, but other than that, I really do not like playing on it. Then we have Excite Bike Arena, which sure, each time you play it's a different variant, but it still does not change the fact that it's literally just an oval and it's boring as hell. Then you have Dragon Driftway, which is by far my least favorite course in this entire frickin' game, because of not only is the turns on this map absolutely impossible, but I just, frankly, there's like real world reasons as to why I don't like it, but I'm not going to go into that today. The only course in this entire cup that practically saves it from utter embarrassment is Mute City, because not only is that track fun, but it lets you go fast as hell, and frankly, I'm a fan of going fast as hell. Plus, if you ask me, it's the better F-Zero track that this game has. Yeah, if I had to combine all my rankings of all the courses, GC and Yoshi Circuit would get a 2 out of 5 stars, Excite Bike Arena will get a 2 out of 5 stars, Dragon Driftway gets a 1 out of 5 stars, and Mute City gets a 4 out of 5 stars, which in total is 9 out of 20 stars. Looking very awful for the first track on this list. Oh, but don't worry, it gets very better than this. And in 11th, we have the Leaf Cup, which, oh boy, is just as bad as the Egg Cup, but slightly not. Because you see, in the Leaf Cup, we have DS Wario Stadium, GCN Sherbetland, 3DS Melody Motorway, and N64 Yoshi Valley. Now, let's dissect as to which one of these is terrible, shall we? DS Wario Stadium is literally just Waluigi Stadium, except worse. It controls worse, the map layout is not even that good, and sure, it re-envisions the original, but just because you re-envisioned it does not make it good. Then we have Sherbetland. Do I really need to explain why this one's boring and literally a piece of shit? Then we have 3DS Melody Motorway. And the reason why it's not a 5 out of 5 is frankly because I've fallen out of love with it, frankly. Like, sure, it's still good, but it's just overrated in my eyes now. But then we have N64 Yoshi Valley, which actually, I used to hate this course, but now I actually genuinely kind of like it. It has some charm to it, and it's a good Yoshi track to say the least. So, saying the stars for each, Wario Stadium has 1, Sherbet Land has 1, Melody Motorway has 4, and Yoshi Valley has 3. In total, making it another 9 out of 20. Oh, and we're just getting 9s across the board, aren't we? Alright, now we have the Flower Cup taking the 10th place spot on this list. And it's bland, to say the least. Starting the Flower Cup off, we have Mario Circuit, which is literally just a Mobius strip. I don't care how you justify yourself in making an 8, at the end of the day, it's still an 8. After that, we have Toad Harbor, which it's not a bad track, but after playing it often in online circles, it's just not that good compared to the other cups that we have. Then we have Twisted Mansion, and by far it's one of the more weaker Boo tracks that I've ever seen throughout the series. That's also taking into account SNES Ghost Valley. And then lastly we ended off with Shy Guy Falls, which I think is the highlight of this cup. It is a masterpiece in how to make a cup. The music is great, the layout is fantastic, and it has a great use of the anti-gravity. Plus, those Shy Guys are just great at mining. So, to give each of the courses their rankings, we have Mario Circuit with 1 out of 5, we got Toad Harbor with 3 out of 5, and then we have Twisted Mansion with 1 out of 5, and ending it all off, we have Shy Guy Falls with a 5 out of 5. Clearly carrying this cup to a 10 out of 20. God, if this cup did not have Shy Guy Falls, it would be fucked. Just to reiterate before we continue, just because a cup shows up early in the list does not mean it's outright bad in general. These are more so biased opinions, if anything, as well as some objectivity in here. But other than that, I'm just sorry, this cup is just meh to me. And now the cup in 9th place is the Shell Cup. And now you must be wondering, how did the Shell Cup make it this low into the list? Well, let me list off the tracks so you can get a better idea. First we have Wii Moo Moo Meadows, GBA Mario Circuit, DS Cheep Cheep Beach, and lastly N64 Toad's Turnpike. Now, to describe what Wii Moo Moo Meadow is, it's not good. Sure, it's not the worst Wii track I've ever seen, but it's so fucking boring. Sure, just because there's a glider section there doesn't automatically make it intriguing or anything. Granted, I do like the cow on PCs, but yeah, that's literally about it. Then we have GBA Mario Circuit, which I will give it that they tried to do something unique with this track by adding an old Nintendo toy to elevate different portions of the track, but at the end of the day, it's still a Mario Circuit, so there's really not much that can be done here. However, if this was a track like Peach Circuit as they did in Mario Kart Tour, I think this would have given like a more higher ranking, but other than that, it'll sit where it is. Then we have DS Cheep Cheep Beach, the rip-off of Cheep Cheep Island. I never was a fan of Cheep Cheep Beach. I couldn't understand as to why people liked it, but for me personally, I never liked it. The layout to me was just bland, I just thought it was a generic beach track, and frankly, I just preferred Cheep Cheep Island a lot more. But then we have the shining track in this cup, being N64 Toad's Turnpike. Personally, I love this track. Although it's literally just an 8, I think the traffic in this course is well managed. And I also love the setting and the music that this course takes place in. Granted, you would think that a track called Toad's Turnpike would involve more of the city, but I think it strikes a good balance between the two. Plus, it's fun on 200, which is the setting that I usually play the most often. Now, let's get to the rankings of these courses. We have Moo Moo Meadows at 1 out of 5, GBA Mario Circuit with 3 out of 5, DS Cheep Cheep Beach with 2 out of 5, and N64 Toad's Turnpike with a 5 out of 5, leaving this entire cup with an 11 out of 20. It nearly scraped by. So again, all it takes is one course to be carrying your ass, and then boom, you're not even in last. Now in 8th place, we have the Mushroom Cup, the first cup in this entire game, and it suffers the same thing from the Flower Cup, meaning that most of the tracks are boring as shit, however there's only one course that basically carries the entire thing. Kind of. Now, let's get to it. Mario Kart Stadium. Tell you what, it's not bad. It's definitely better than whatever the hell Toad Circuit was for Mario Kart 7, or Figure 8 Circuit for Mario Kart DS. However, it's not anything special. Granted, it's fun to drive on, but just because it's fun to drive on doesn't mean it's fun to look at. It's basically the stereotypical stadium that most Mario Kart tracks have already done before, except this time it's Mario now. And we have another generic track being Water Park. Frankly, I kind of have a soft spot for it. It's not bad, it's just not interesting. I wouldn't put it in like my top 10 or anything, but it's not bad by any means. Then we have Sweet Sweet Canyon, which is definitely better than the other two tracks that we went through, but once again, I wouldn't be putting it in my top 10 or anything. But then we have one of the best tracks in the entire game, that being Thwomp Ruins. Not only is the music on this course excellent, but driving through it and just looking at all the stuff to look at, like the ancient ruins and all the thwomps going around, it's just magical. I enjoy driving on this course every time it's picked. Granted, it's kind of lost some of its original nostalgic flow, as I've played on this track many times before, but it still doesn't change the fact that this track is really good. Now, to give each of them their stars. Mario Kart Stadium has a 2 out of 5, Water Park has a 2 out of 5, Sweet Sweet Canyon has a 3 out of 5, and Thwomp Ruins has a 5 out of 5. In total, making it a 12 out of 20 difference. God, imagine scraping by again. Damn, I'm starting to realize a pattern here. Either way, let's move on to the next course. Oh, I'm going to get some opinions for this one. The cup that holds the number 7 spot is the Special Cup. Look, I can admire that this cup is great, but to some extent, it's just in the decent category. I mean, look, we have courses like Cloudtop Cruise, Bone Dry Dunes, Bowser's Castle, and Rainbow Road, but in order to justify why it's in the 7th place, allow me to explain each of the courses, shall I? So, first we have Cloudtop Cruise. It's a decent track. It doesn't do anything remarkable. I do find the section where you go from the airship to the clouds quite interesting, as you're driving through a whole thunderstorm. However, it's not long enough to justify it being long-lasting or anything. And the idea of driving on clouds has kind of been done before. When I say that, I mean Skygun, but I think we all know what Nintendo did to Skygun, so I think the clear winner in this debate is Cloudtop Cruise. Then we have Bone Dry Dunes. I think this track gets a little too much hate. Sure, it's not the best track in the game, but it's not by any consensual margin the worst. It's not even that bad. You just need to do some precise turning and that's it. I think the area that most people complain about is the area with the piranha plant, where you either have 2 directions to go in. Usually most people go in the bone section anyway, so I don't see what the complaint is. If the main complaint is you have to take too many sharp turns, well then, I guess these are the same people who hate Neo Bowser City then. Then we have Bowser's Castle. And frankly, I think this is one of the weakest Bowser Castles I've ever seen. For me, I think it's trying too much, and I don't think it works in most instances. Like, sure, it looks amazing, but I just think it's ruined by the music. Plus, it's not all too challenging. The only challenge you'll see here is getting frickin' pushed over by the frickin' NPCs. But then, we have the most controversial thing in this list, Rainbow Road. I think Mario Kart 8's version of Rainbow Road is a fantastic rendition of Rainbow Road. Hear me out. Just because it uses the station aesthetic does not necessarily make it bad or devalues what a Rainbow Road should be. Because you see, sure, it's undrivable in 200, but it's kind of supposed to be that way. In that case, if you're going to give Mario Kart 8 shit for being too hard on 200, then perhaps you should give Double Dash shit for being too hard on 150. Which I would proudly do, by the way. Anyway, let's get to the rankings. So, for Cloudtop Cruise we have a 3 out of 5, Bone Dry Dunes is also a 3 out of 5, Bowser's Castle is a 2 out of 5, and Rainbow Road is a 5 out of 5, leaving us with a total of 13 out of 20 stars. So, in order to not give people a reason to hire Hitman against me, I think it's safe to move on. Alright, now we have the Crossing Cup, which frankly I did not expect to make it to number 6, but hey, here we are. So in this cup we have the GCN Baby Park, GBA Cheeseland, Wild Woods, and Animal Crossing. Now, Baby Park is an interesting case. Because frankly, I think in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it's the funnest out of all the baby parks. Yeah, I know, crucify me for all you wish, but I frankly hold the belief that Mario Kart 8 does something with Baby Park that not even the Double Dash version does. And I think it's offer more charm. Because I think there's more stuff to look at, and on top of the fact that the whole stage is at an incline, I think it offers a more chaotic sense. Now granted, I think it would have been more chaotic if the stage would constantly rotate from side to side, because, you know, Baby Park is meant to be chaotic. However, I think Mario Kart 8 did an excellent job at porting over this old and classic course. Now, for GBA Cheeseland, holy crap, they really remodeled this entire thing, and it's almost unrecognizable. Granted, I kinda hate how they removed the mice and just replaced them with change humps, but it's a nitpick if anything, because this whole track feels so different, and it just feels so fun to drive on, as there's so many like shortcuts everywhere, the music is just great, it's a bop, it's a vibe, and it's just amazing. Then we have Wild Woods, which frankly I like to call the Maple Treeway knockoff. But to be quite honest with you, I like Wild Woods more than I do Maple Treeway. Music is good, the whole dynamic lighting is great, the fact that this is the home for Shy Guys and Toads is another good detail, and plus, frankly, I like the more woods aesthetic of this track, because for most of Maple Treeway we just drive on one tree and call it a day. But for Wild Woods, it feels like you're driving through the entirety of the forest. Frankly, I like that feel. Then we have Animal Crossing, which depending on which variant is dependent on which star I give it. And frankly, even the best one can only receive 3, because my favorite of the Animal Crossing stages is the winter theme, and because I'm a fucking sucker for ice tracks. So here are the rankings for all of them. We have Baby Park with a 4 out of 5, Cheeseland with a 4 out of 5, Wild Woods with a 3 out of 5, and Animal Crossing Winter, because that's the best one, with a 3 out of 5. In total, we get a 14 out of 20, which if you ask me, is a good ranking to put it. This cup by itself isn't all too fantastic, but it scrapes by just fine. Alright, now we made it to the top 5 of this list. And I have a feeling I already have a gun pointed to my head. Look, this cup is not necessarily bad by any sort of the imagination. However, there's one course in this cup that really devalues the entire thing. Let's name the courses so you can figure out which one does that. First, we have Sunshine Airport, which is just an amazing course. If you were to tell me that Nintendo were to make a course based on an airport and actually make it amazing, I wouldn't believe you. But frankly, this is one of the best tracks in the entire game. Then we have Dolphin Shoals. Now we have Electrodrome, which for the longest time I was one of the people who called it Electrodome, but I've gotten used to saying the word Electrodrome, and frankly, it's a pretty good course. Granted, it's not as good as it used to be for me, but frankly, it still holds up water. But then we have debatably one of the best courses in the entire game, Mount Wario, which is a 3-lap track which takes place in a giant area that Wario so happens to own. First you go through a series of mountains, then you go through a cave, then you go through a dam, then you go through a forest, and then you go through a whole ski resort, which frankly, it's like combining a whole series of winter tracks into one, and it amazes me how it does all of them so well. But now, we have to get to the rankings. Sunshine Airport is a clear 5 out of 5, Dolphin Shoals is a 1 out of 5, and Electrodrome is a 4 out of 5. Mount Wario is a 5 out of 5. Leaving this cup with a total of 15 out of 20 stars. Now, this would have been the number 1 cup if it were not for Dolphin Shoals. If a course like Thwomp Ruins were to replace its spot, it would be the best cup in the entire game. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Anyway, moving on to the next cup. Alright, now we have the Banana Cup, and frankly, it's one of the better retro cups in this entire list. But to start everything off, we have GC and Dry Desert. Now, this course is my favorite desert track in the entirety of the game. played the original version, I freaking hated it, because not only was the drifting in Double Dash tremendously awful, but however, I also had to deal with that frickin' tornado that nobody on this earth frickin' likes. However, in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they fixed it, and decided to turn that area where the tornado is usually spawned, where all the sandhills and the pokies are, into an oasis, which I think is a welcome change and offers a unique dynamic to a very bland track, according to some people. And the next course we have is SNES Plains, and I shit you not, when I played the Mario Kart 8 version, I thought it was okay, at first, because I didn't really appreciate the value of the course being as good as it is. But then, when I went back to play Super Mario Kart, and I finally got to the Special Cup, and I had to do that course, oh my god, that nearly made me hate the course in its entirety. Because playing it on Super Mario Kart was the worst thing imaginable since playing Mario Kart 64 on the Special Cup. So, playing both of them has given me a newfound appreciation for the 8 Deluxe version, as it's so much better than the original. My only complaint of the 8 Deluxe version is a musical complaint, as for some reason they decided to lock one of the key components of Donut Plains' music behind the front-running theme. Frankly, I don't think it's a good idea, but you know what, whatever, it's still good regardless. It's still slippery as shit though. Then we have another track that I didn't learn to appreciate until later on in my 8 Deluxe career, being N64 Royal Raceway. It wasn't until I played Mario Kart 7, Mario Kart Wii, and then finally Mario Kart 64 did I realize that Royal Raceway was the best raceway that game had to offer, and it really shows in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Bells constantly chiming, confetti everywhere, greenery everywhere, Peach's Castle, which is no longer accessible, but you know what, hey, it's not really a big deal. There's so much life and energy in this course that frankly playing on it is just a breath of fresh air. But of course, every cup has to have a downer course, and that course in this cup is 3DS DK Jungle, which for namesake sounds way too similar to a track that I really despise. Now, it's not that it's bad or anything, I do find it cute that it's a reference to Donkey Kong Country, specifically the more modern games, but like, why bring this one back specifically? It's not like I hear people coming down from the hills screaming how good DK Jungle is, which sucks too, because we could have gotten other better courses like Rosalina's Ice World, Shy Guy Bazaar, but oh well, it's decent at best. Now, on to the ranking. For GCN Dry Desert we have a 4 out of 5. For SNES Donut Plains 3 we have a 4 out of 5 as well. But with N64 Royal Raceway, it clearly carries with a 5 out of 5, and 3DS DK Jungle with a 2 out of 5. All adding up to a grand total of 15 out of 20 stars. Now, I'm starting to wonder what would happen if all the downer tracks from these cups just were all in one cup. Maybe then making this list would be a lot easier. Well, whatever. Just a thought I had. Moving on. Starting off the top 3, we have the Bell Cup, which frankly, I have some of my favourite courses in the entirety of the series in this cup, but first let's go over them. First we have 3DS Neo Bowser City, which, oh my god, to me it is one of the best 7 courses I've ever had the pleasure of playing. It has my favourite theme, it takes place at night, it's raining, and the music is amazing. Granted, there's a video out there saying that it's a remix of a bunch of other courses, which to me astounds me even more how this one sounds better than the original remixes of the courses that it took from. So it just, wow. Then we have GBA Ribbon Road. Now, I'm not particularly a fan of Ribbon Road, but I have to give it its credit and say that its remake is astounding. It's completely you can't even tell it's Ribbon Road by the first time you see it. That's how amazing it is. The remake absolutely does everything. The music doesn't even sound like the original, which is, to its benefit, amazing. It's like looking at a whole new different course in front of you, and it just, wow. And we have Super Bell Subway, which to me, if you were to take the concept of Moonview Highway or something like Shroom Ridge, and take it into a subway and replace all the cars with trains, it's basically like that. And frankly, I think it does a very good job at having 2 conflicting tones. When you're outside of the subway, it's more of a cheerful and more ready for an adventure sort of thing. While you're in the subways, however, it's more action-packed and anything like that. Granted, both kind of feel short, and granted, it's a little bit of a figure eight, but frankly, I think it's done pretty well, as sometimes you can even forget that it's an 8, considering the various different paths you can take and various options you are able to take due to the trains constantly being a hindrance, which frankly, I think are played very well. Then we have the other F-Zero track, which frankly, it's pretty weak. I'm not a fan of Big Blue by any means. Granted, it looks great. I'm just not a fan of it. More so because the music kind of ruins the vibe for me, as I'm not really a fan of Big Blue to begin with. But I will not deny that it is kind of fun to play on. And it's also one of those tracks where I got a very funny moment from. But other than that, I can't really continue on to say anything nice about it. Now we can finally rank all of these. 3DS Neo Bowser City is a perfect 5 out of 5. GBA Ribbon Road sits at a 4 out of 5. Super Bowl Subway is a perfect 5 out of 5. And Big Blue is a 2 out of 5, leaving the Bell Cup in a total of 16 out of 20 stars. How can we get any better than this? In second place, we have another DLC cup, that cup being the Triforce Cup, with some of the best tracks in the entire game. Now, starting us off, we have Wii Warriors Gold Mine, which, frankly, I think is a pretty good Wii track. I think it's handled pretty well in a Deluxe. However, it's never really been my favorite per se. Granted, it's such a welcome change that the minecarts don't actually hit you now. They actually give you boosts, which, oh my god, I've been waiting for this day to come. But yes, we got a good rendition of Warriors Gold Mine. SNES Rainbow Road. It is, oh my god, it is unrecognizable. Granted, the track itself, the layout, it's practically the same. It still maintains all the squarish turns and all that. But the surrounding area is just, oh my god, it feeds into it so much. The rainbow thwarms, the rainbow hills, the music is just top tier class on how to remix an old retro. Oh my god, it's amazing. Then we have Ice Ice Outpost, which is one of my favorite snow tracks in the entire series, and there are so many hidden details within this track, like the glaciers falling off in each of the laps, and how you can intertwine between both of the routes to combine into a fast route to it's just so amazing. It's fantastic, really. Then we have Hyrule Circuit, which, I mean, it's good. It's not great by any means, but it is good. It's a good representation of the Zelda franchise. And I think it's strange how we haven't seen a Hyrule Castle in that design. The only castle that I can really say has that design is Twilight Princess's, but I highly doubt that this castle is meant to represent Twilight Princess in any way, considering that the link that we got was from Skyward Sword. So, what gives, Nintendo? Anyway, now we have to rank all these courses, and frankly, Wario's Gold Mine is a 3 out of 5, SNES sits perfectly at a 5 out of 5, Ice Ice Outpost sits at another perfect 5 out of 5, and Hyrule Circuit serves at a 4 out of 5. Leaving a total of 17 out of 20 stars, which frankly, for this list, I think is quite amazing. But what cup could frankly be better than this, frankly? It couldn't be. Right, the best cup in this entire game goes to the Lightning Cup. Better understand why I come to this decision, let's go over the courses that are in this cup, shall we? First, we have DS TikTok Clock. If you want to learn how to remake a track, this is what you should do. DS TikTok Clock is the perfect example as to what to do to remake a fantastic course. Hell, on the DS it looked, well, you know, but now it looks amazing. And if I remember correctly, I remember hearing a fun fact that the clock in this map actually tells the accurate time, unlike some others. The music on this course is absolutely breathtaking, as if the original music for this wasn't already outstanding. And on top of that, it's a very fun track to play on. So what's there not to like? But if you think TikTok Clock is the best at what we're getting at, well then you'd be mistaken, because the next track that comes up is 3DS Piranha Plant Slide. And oh my oh word, if you think that this was going to be anything related to the 7 version, you'd be surely mistaken. The water on this track is abysmally good. The whole underwater section later down the track is completely revamped. It's like I'm in a hub area for all pipes. Oh, and the music. Somehow adding more jazz instruments into like the original composition made it 100 times better than the original. Believe it or not, when I was younger, I never fancied myself with this track, but recently as I continued to play it more and more, I've realized that I've been sitting on a gold mine this entire time. Insert Warriors gold mine joke here. Oh, but we're not done when it comes to bangers. No, because literally, the next course will literally blow your socks out of the water. Or in this case, lava. Take a look at We Grumble Volcano. Oh my god. This is one of the most fantastical looking tracks from the Wii that I've ever seen. That is including every single Wii track that has managed to squeeze its way into Mario Kart 8. Without hyperbole. That cave section inside the volcano, completely revamped, as it now feels like there's actual depth rather than just looking at 2D images. The surrounding area of the track looks absolutely apocalyptic, and it also kept the same gimmick as it used to have back in the Wii. Because apparently being faithful is something too difficult for some tracks to understand. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's continue to praise Grumble Volcano for like a minute. The music is great, and although it sounds kind of similar to the Wii version, if you listen close enough, you can tell that there's some differences within the acoustics and the different modules of instruments, meaning that the composition of the music is entirely different. By far, this is my favorite track in the entire game. Hands down, without question. But then we have to end it off on something a little sour, and that thing being N64 Rainbow Road. Look, I can acknowledge that this course has had historical significance within the Mario Kart franchise. But I can also acknowledge that it's not as good as people make it hyped out to be. Number 1, in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe it feels very short. Sure, it looks pretty, but don't you think, due to its prettiness, that I would like to stay there a little longer? You'd think so, but Nintendo had the opposite thought. But it has a train, which means that it's instantly good again. I was never a fan of the track's layout, nor was I ever a fan of its music. Sure, it invokes nostalgia, but as someone who's never played the N64 games in their life until recently because I needed to do a video on it, yeah, this track invokes no nostalgia out of me. If anything, the only thing that it invokes is my fury and malice towards the original, because thank god they decided to make it a 3-segmented track instead of a full 3-lap track. But I would not account for that because Mario Kart 8's version just made it shorter, so if anything, it would have been fine if it just kept the 3-lap system that it used to have. Sure, it's good, it's not terrible by any means, but I'm not gonna sit here and say it's a 5 out of 5 just because everyone says it's nostalgic. Speaking of ratings, we should get to those. DS TikTok Clock got a 5 out of 5, 3DS Piranha Plant Slide got a 5 out of 5, We Grumble Volcano got a 5 out of 5, and N64 Rainbow Road got a 3 out of 5, totaling all of that to an 18 out of 20 stars. Now that is how you beat the competition. Whew, that was the lot of them. Did you enjoy? Because I sure did. And I'm enjoying this new microphone, which to this day I'm still trying to test out. Because frankly, I need all of you to understand what I'm saying without my audio constantly being cut out by my old one. But anyway, those are my thoughts on all the cups in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, excluding the DLC. So, just remember, just because there's a cup that's like rated the worst does not mean I think every track in that cup is terrible. But do remember, if you have opinions or thoughts on your own, feel free to comment them, as I'm sure I would love to hear your rankings of all the cups within Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And who knows, maybe I'll rank the other cups in the other Mario Kart games. But alas, that is up to mystery. I am Sir Valentine, and remember, stay cherryful.